It took me 11 years to understand his behavior. When I was 21, I met my first husband. He had two brothers, Stefan, 23, and Chris, 31. Stefan and I always got along great. We became real friends. Chris, on the other hand, was different. A bit of a loner, socially awkward, never had a girlfriend. I always suspected he might be on the spectrum, or just a really intense nerd. He had this odd vibe about him. Chris was cold and dismissive towards me from the start. I honestly tried to connect with him for years, especially after I married his brother at 23. He was never outright hostile, but he obviously didn't like me. At our wedding, instead of celebrating, he sat by a window, completely isolated, reading a book. That pretty much sums it up. Over the years, we started to talk more, and things seemed to ease a bit between us. Fast forward to year 11 of our marriage. I was around 32. One day, Chris came by the house while my husband was at work, just to pick something up. It wasn't unusual. We ended up having coffee and chatting. Nothing weird, until it suddenly got weird. Out of nowhere, he tells me he doesn't want to spend time with me anymore. I was stunned and asked why. I thought things had finally become normal between us. That's when he told me he'd been in love with me the entire time. I honestly thought I misheard him. My brain just blanked. I remember blinking at him in silence, like it wasn't real life. This was my brother-in-law, the guy who barely tolerated me, who always kept his distance, telling me he'd secretly loved me for over a decade. He began crying and excused himself. I wasn't able to respond properly. I mean, what was I supposed to say? We never talked about it again. And 2 years later, I divorced my husband and had no contact with him since then. But that moment, that confession, it shook me in a way I've never forgotten. It's one of the most surreal things I've ever experienced. Like finding out your cat has been in love with you and suddenly starts talking. Just unreal.